All right, good evening, dear students. A pleasure to be with you in a new week of classes. Thank you very much for having joined me. It's a pleasure to share with you one more time this opportunity to discuss the TOEFL exam. That is, I think, something that certainly has our minds very much occupied nowadays. So thank you, okay? I'm very excited because this week we are starting with a new section with you. And it's certainly one of the most difficult sections for master's takers, the very much feared speaking section. And don't worry, because we are going to be having a very good discussion on this section, trying to reveal all its secrets, all the hacks and tips that I have managed to gather in my experience. And of course, I'm going to share with you very much happily, because I want you to have a wonderful score, right? So give me a second. I am transmitting this class to YouTube so you can rewatch it later. By the way, I think that Ruth didn't actualize or update it. Oh, she actually did it, right? So by the way, in the description of their WhatsApp group, you already have the YouTube channel in which all these classes are being uploaded, so you can rewatch them later, okay? So what I'm gonna do right now is to stream this particular class to that channel, so you can rewatch it whenever you want later, okay? So let me just do this and this. Here we are. Here as well. Where is this? Where's this? Where's this? Here, just give me a second. And as I say, in today's class, and by the way, for the rest of the week, we are going to be discussing a topic that it is, as I say, very feared by many people. And that is the speaking section. And for this week, we're going to be concentrating in the first task of the speaking section. And for the rest, well, for the following weeks, we're going to be discussing the other tasks. Okay, so I'm going to explain you right now. But don't worry, because at the end, we're going to be discussing the entire section. And you're going to be able to see that when you think about it and when you practice it, especially, it is not that difficult. Okay, so now I have managed to finalize with this. Just give me a second. I'm finalizing here a transmission. And okay, it doesn't, okay, it doesn't allow me to. Well, I'm gonna have to upload it later. Fantastic. So let's start together, okay? Let me share my screen with you and let us go with the speaking section. All right, fantastic. Oh yes, Miguel, you had a question. I'm sorry, Miguel.
Yeah.
Yes.
First, good evening to everyone. Carlos, I was going to ask you about the calling, about the schedule of
Yes.
calling. Yeah. We have I think 15 maybe calls.
12, yes, 12
Oh,
calls
12.
of
Yeah,
15
right.
minutes. Yes.
How many? How many?
We have 12 calls of 15 minutes each.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mhm.
Should we schedule this uh, for a period of a certain time or determinate time, or for the during of the whole course? That
Okay.
I think it's 5 weeks remain.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Miguel, for the question. Yes. Well, in order to respond to questions, yes, you can schedule or reserve your calls whenever you want during the duration of these classes. So the only thing you have to worry about is the available time that you're going to see on the platform, right? Because when you get into the website we have, executiveenglisheducation.com, you're going to see that whenever you want to schedule or reserve a call, there are some available times, right? Because you cannot reserve at any time, but there are some available times. And when you see those available times, you can reserve at any point in those available times, okay? And you can actually, as I say, choose whenever you want to do it. If you want to, for example, save these calls for the end of these classes, because some people like to, I have a student in the other group that likes to have this personal calls at the end of the courses, because he wants to be, let's say, very fresh before giving his exam, because he's taking the exam right after he finishes his classes. So maybe you want to do that, or maybe you want to have the classes or the personal calls distributed during the 5 weeks. That is fine. As I say, you dispose of your time and you can reserve at any point during these available times. Okay, dear Miguel?
Okay, it's clear. Thank you, Carlos.
Fantastic, my pleasure. Okay, so having clarified that, then let us start with the speaking section, as I told you. Let me share my screen here, and here we are. This is what I told you. I'm not sure why this is not allowing me to stream, but that's no matter because we're going to be uploading the class anyways. So you're going to see it no matter what. Okay, so let's start with this. Let me open here my presentation and let us go with some general aspects, all right, of this section. Let us go. I'm gonna start with this. So as I told you, for many people, this is a very difficult, demanding section. I admit it is, but nonetheless, it doesn't mean that it is not possible to improve and to have a very good comprehension of it, and of course, to perform very well in this section, okay? For this week, we are going to be discussing the first task of the speaking section. As I'm going to explain you right now, the section is divided into 4 different tasks. So for the entireness of this week, we're going to discuss just the first one because it's certainly the only one that is, let's say, different to the other ones, and it's a little bit more complicated, okay? So we're going to discuss it. And of course, we're going to discuss the general aspects and some hacks and tips that I managed to gather that I think are going to be super useful for you in the future. All right, let's go and start together the speaking section, right? Let's start. So let's start with our tradition that we have that we always comment on the general aspects of the sections. So let us see some general things about this section before we start with the specifics. So first of all, the TOEFL IBT speaking section is designed to measure your ability to speak English effectively in academic settings, all right? Now, it is composed of 4 different tasks that resemble, as I told you, real life situations you might encounter both in and outside of the classroom, all right? Now, as I say, there are going to be 4 different tasks in this section. The section is divided into 4 different tasks, so you always need to consider it. Now, let's say that among those 4 different tasks, there are just 2 types of questions. I'm not sure if I explain myself. Although you have 4 different tasks, there are just 2 types of questions you could receive. One is called the independent speaking question, and the other one is called the integrated speaking question. And the independent speaking question is merely and specifically for the first task of the speaking section. And this is the one that we're going to discuss in today's class and for the entire week. The first type of question for the first task, because as I say, the first task is the only one that has this type of question, the independent question. The other tasks that we're going to analyze in the following weeks are the ones that have the so-called integrated speaking task or integrated speaking question. But don't worry about this. I don't want to confuse you. Let us focus for today's class and for the rest of the week in the independent speaking task. But as I say, I think it's certainly one of the most difficult ones, and it's the only one that is different. So let us discuss it today, and let us discuss this for the entire week so we can practice it, we can polish some details, we can perfect our defects, and we're going to be able to perform on this very well. Okay, fantastic. So remember, 4 different tasks, and in the first task, we're going to have the independent speaking question. That is the one that we're going to discuss today. Okay, now 13. Throughout the entire section, you will be required to write down some notes in order to organize and plan your responses. As I told you, and as we have seen already with you in the listening section, taking notes is tremendously important during the entire exam, okay? Now, given that you are taking notes and you already know how to take notes, I'm very glad that you enter in the listening section because you already received some training and preparation how to take notes efficiently, right? So what we are going to be discussing with you is that, remember, notes are very important during the entire section. And for this one, especially in the tasks number 2, 3, and 4, but nonetheless, although in the first task, maybe you are not that required to take notes, you are also going to find the paper and pencil very much necessary for this section as in the entire exam. Okay, so remember, you're also going to take notes during this section, and they are crucially important in the second, third, and fourth task of this section. But in the first one, not that much, but nonetheless, as I say, you are still going to appreciate the paper and pencil, trust me, all right? So there you have the general aspects. Do you have any question, dear students, about the general aspects, the, I don't know, general concepts of this section, something you would like me to clarify, to help you with? Tell me, please, I'm gonna be glad to help you. Miguel, Jorge, Sergio, Alondra, Adriana, Fabiana, Camila, any question about this one?
It's clear.
Right, fantastic. Thank you very much, dear Jorge.
It is clear for me, Carlos. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, don't worry, dear Sergio. Thank you. There you are. Fantastic. So I think that's all we need to know until this point. Fantastic. So if you don't have more questions, let's move on then to the next slide. Here we are. Okay, so let us discuss some recommendations that I have for you to nail the speaking section in general. And you're actually going to notice that many of the things we're going to discuss right now are not specifically about the content of the exam, but these are some, let's say, tricks that you need to make sure you are understanding correctly and you're applying in the speaking section, okay? So the first thing I want us to discuss today is how to manage the headphones, all right? This is tremendously important, dear students, by the way. For this section, your best ally is going to be the headphones, right? Because maybe, well, you are aware of this. If you're taking the IVT version or the home IVT version, you are going to have the necessity of having this type of headphones. Look at them. These are, well, the traditional headphones. And if you are taking the IVT version, let me tell you, doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter what test center you choose, they are going to give you a pair of these headphones, right? Typical ones, traditional ones with a microphone that is included in attached to the headphones, right? And if you are taking the home IVT version, that is to say, you are taking the exam at home, well, you're going to have to get a couple of these headphones because they're going to be necessary and a requirement for you to take the exam and record your speaking responses, okay? So now let us discuss a little bit more about these headphones. For this section, as I told you, they are going to be your best allies. Now, the ones you're going to receive will be the traditional headphones that I show you with a microphone included. First thing, dear students, to make sure when you begin this section is to put them on correctly and to get the microphone near your mouth with the due space for you to speak. This is super important, right? Because remember, here you have the headphones, and of course, you're going to put them on your head, and the microphone, you're going to have to adjust it, well, to a considerable distance to your mouth so that when you speak, you're not going to have, for example, the problem that if you attach the microphone too nearby your mouth, remember that when we are speaking, we constantly make some noises, right? Like, right? Things of that sort. And of course, they are annoying. So you don't want to annoy the person who's going to listen to your response, right? And you actually wanted to, you want him to listen to your recording as clear as possible. So your objective, the first thing you have to make sure is that when you put it on, you are having the microphone in a considerable distance from your mouth so that those noises are not recorded and that you are also comfortable when speaking. So maybe 4 or 5 seconds is recommendable. As I say, always have it in a considerable space separated from your mouth, because if you don't do so, then as I say, the noises that we make with our mouth are going to disturb your response. And of course, you don't want that, all right? So make sure to have this solved before starting with the section, because as I say, actually the first thing you make, all right, when you start a section is to test your microphone. And by the way, I wanted to clarify this. If you remember, when I talked to you in the introductory class about the order of the exam, I told you, right, the exam always goes in this sense. The reading section is the one that, initiates the exam. Then you go immediately to the listening section. Then you have in the middle of the exam a break of 10 minutes, and then you come back to perform on the speaking section and finally the writing section. So this section is going to be the one that you're going to be performing on right after the 10 minutes break are over. So when you come back from the break, the first thing that the computer is going to ask you to do is to test if your microphone is working. Basically, the computer, when you come back, your screen, you're going to look at it and you're going to read something like, please put your headphones on and talk about your family so that we can check out your microphone and to adjust the volume of the recording. So you put the microphone and the headphones on, and then you're going to speak about your family. I don't know, something like, well, my family came from South Africa. They were immigrants. Now I live in this country that I love very much. And as you do so, the computer is going to be able to check out if your microphone is working correctly. By the way, everything that I'm mentioning is for the IVT version, right? And for the home IVT version as well. The PVT version, I assume that nobody's going to take it because it is not actually, as far as I know, available in South America, unless you are living in a very, very, I don't know, alien city of your country in which internet is not actually accessible, but I guess that is super difficult. Yes, I mean, this is for the IVT version, or for the home IVT version that are, let's say, the 90% of the test takers are the versions that 90% of the test takers, or 95% of the test takers take. All right. So as I say, dear students, first thing you're going to make sure is that your microphone is working, and the computer is going to help you. As I say, it's going to ask you, please talk about your family, talk to us about I don't know, your last vacation, whatever. It is not going to punctuate, by the way, if they ask you to do so for just testing if your microphone works. That is not going to evaluate it. You can actually use this particular part for you to maybe I don't know, to practice your speaking a little bit, to recover your I don't know, your comfort, whatever. You speak, and if the computer says, okay, we have checked out your microphone, everything is right, you can press the button that says next to start with a section. If you want to start with a section immediately, well, you press the button that says start a section. If there is some sort of problem or issue with your microphone, the computer is going to tell you. Therefore, it's going to say, please raise your hand so that somebody can come and help you with technical support. Now, this is actually just possible if you are taking the IVT version, as I told you, the one in which you in which you choose a test center, and you go to this test center in order to take the exam there, and you have people from ETS helping you at every single step. Now, if you raise your hand in this modality, somebody's going to come to help you. Hey, what happened? And you tell, right? Here, my computer says that my microphone doesn't help. Could you please give me another one? Please, could you change me to another computer? They are going to do it, right? Because they are there in order to help you, to give you that technical support. Now, if you are taking the home IVT version, that is a completely different story. Because as I say, you're at home. How could somebody help you? If your microphone doesn't work for some reason at that point, I'm so sorry. It's going to be your responsibility. Or maybe you are going to have received the chance to use another headphone. So maybe you're going to have the necessity to buy additional headphones just in case the one you're using doesn't work. But as I say, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because technical support is not going to be available for you on that day. Whereas if you're taking the IVT version, the normal one, in which you choose a test center and you go to that test center in person to take the exam, well, you have a lot of people who help you in any possible scenario, okay? But consider all these things when choosing what modality you want to take, all right? Fantastic. So as I said, dear students, after you check out your microphone, that everything works correctly, you have checked out the separation of the microphone from your mouth, also make sure, that it is correctly adapted to your head size. Because if you notice here, the headphones have this mechanisms here in the part of your ear that allows you to move or to, let's say, expand the microphone or the headphone in this case, if your head size is not adequate, right? So if you have a big head like mine, for example, please make sure to make it a little bit more, I don't know, to make it a little bit more large so that you can have it firm on your head. Your objective when adjusting the size of these headphones is to have it firm on your head, firme, okay? Firm on your head. Because if you don't have that very firm on your head, and if you don't adjust the microphone when doing so, imagine that you make a sudden move, like, I don't know, you're scratching your ear and you move on your headphones, well, you're going to get deconcentrated. Well, that is going to perturbate your performance, and probably you're going to be very much stressed to readjust the position, and that is going to cause you problems. So as I say, have it firm on your head so that nothing perturbates your performance, and also make sure to adjust the microphone, okay? Is there any question with regard to this recommendation until this point, dear students? First recommendation, second recommendation, anything that I could clarify here? Miguel, Jorge, Sergio, Alondra, Fabiana,
No.
Adriana, Camila. Yes?
It's clear so far.
Thank you very much. Fantastic. Camila, any question? Adriana, we're fine?
Everything's clear.
Fantastic. There we are. So there you have. Okay, these are my first two recommendations. Now let us move on to my third and fourth. Now, this is very important, dear students. Okay, so please pay attention to this. As we continue with the pandemic, it is very plausible that the test centers, if you are taking the IVT version, by the way, are still going to require you to wear a mask even for this section. I don't know if I mentioned this in the introductory class, but for the entire exam, you are going to be required to have your mask on, okay? You need to have them on, even for this section. So when you are speaking and recording your response through the microphone, you're gonna have to have your mask on. You cannot take it off, not even for this section. So make sure that the mask you wear on that day is comfortable for you to move your mouth and speak. This is something, of course, very much subjective. That is to say, it's a matter of preference. If you like, for example, the traditional masks that are clinical, right? The ones that doctors use for operating people even before the pandemic started and we didn't know anything about them. The normal ones are a little bit light blue masks normally. Use those ones if you feel them to feel, if you feel them to be comfortable, if you consider you can speak comfortably, you can speak normally, naturally with them, use them. If you prefer this other type of masks, the ones that are triangular like this, right? Like having a nose, like an extra nose, that have this space from your mouth until the top of the mask, wear them as well. In my experience, when I took the exam the first time, I used the traditional clinical masks. And well, I mean, I had some troubles because it's too near by my mouth for my particular experience. Nonetheless, second time to the exam, I used one of these masks that have this space from your mouth until the top of the mask, and I felt way more comfortable. Nonetheless, like I say, it's a matter of preference. You should, for example, try to, I don't know, to go to an internet cafe and try one of these headphones with a mask on in order to see if you are comfortable with the traditional clinical ones or you prefer the other version. As I say, a matter of preference, but the point is that you need to have your mask on, okay, during the entire exam and also for this section. Now, of course, if you are taking the home IBT version, this is maybe an advantage. You don't have to wear the mask, of course, because you're going to be at home. Probably you're going to be isolated from the rest of your family because you don't want nobody to annoy you. Fantastic. You don't need to wear your mask if you are taking the home IBT version. If you are taking the IBT version, well, you have to wear your mask during the entire exam. Fantastic. Fourth thing, you are not going to be allowed to have a water bottle with you in your test room, nor if you are taking the home IBT version, okay? Make sure to drink enough water and to hydrate your throat appropriately. As I told you, this is the section that you perform on right after you come back from your 10 minutes break. So in your 10 minutes break, you're allowed to drink water, to go to the bathroom, to hydrate your throat, to eat something if you want. You can do whatever. The point is that when you come back, if you're taking the IBT version, they don't actually allow you to enter the computation room one more time with any type of item. You cannot enter with a water bottle, with pencils, with pen, anything. You cannot enter the computation room with anything. And if you are taking the home IBT version, if somebody sees you with a water bottle during the exam, they are going to cancel you. They're going to kick you out of the class because, as I say, it's illegal to drink, to eat while you are performing on the exam, even for this section. You can do all that during the 10 minutes break, but after that or before that, it is completely illegal. So please don't do it, all right? Is there any question, dear students, about these recommendations that I have given you here? The third recommendation, fourth recommendation, anything that I could clarify? Please tell me. Questions about this? Miguel, Jorge, Camila, Sergio, Alondra, Fabiana, Adriana, Camila. Questions about this? All right, fantastic. Thank you, Jorge.
No
All right,
question.
no questions? Okay, thank you very much, Miguel. There we are then. So if there are no more questions, let us move on to another slide. So here you have the headphones, don't forget them. Now, quick hacks for this section. Okay, so what I'm going to comment right now is something that I have managed to gather from my experience, okay? And I want to share it with you because I know that for many of you, this is going to be tremendously helpful, okay? And this a hack, like a hack slash tip that I'm going to give right now is something that it is directed particularly to those of you who are planning to take the IBT version, the version in which you have to go in person, right, to this test center to take the exam. It is particularly directed for you. Now, of course, at some point, I have listened to some rumors that the home IBT version is going to be canceled because these rumors seem to be very much accurate because the reason why the home IBT version was brought into existence in the first place was because of the pandemic. And when the pandemic finishes, well, I don't think there's any reason for ETS to sustain that version. So at some point in your life, you're going to have to take the IBT version that will never disappear because it's the version for excellence. So as I say, these rumors are probably true. So even if you're planning to take the home IVT version, anyways, listen to this tip that I have for you. So when you're taking the IVT version, one of the difficulties you have to face is that when you are in the speaking section, of course, as you are taking the exam with more people in the same computation room and with virtually no separation, because for example, let's say that you are sat here, right, in this desk, there could be somebody right beside you or in your left arm, or it could be somebody in front of you or behind you, and with virtually no separation, as I say, basically sat besides you or sat behind you or in front of you. So what happens for many people is that when they come to this section, of course, that as everybody normally starts all sections at the same time, you're going to have the problem of listening to what other people say, because as I mentioned, virtually there's no separation from you and the other test takers when you're taking the IoT version. And of course, people will naturally speak very loudly in this section because, of course, they want their response to be recorded. So they're going to be almost screaming. They're going to be speaking super loudly. Now, when this happens, of course, maybe you are somebody who has some troubles with concentration or you need to concentrate easily. Maybe because you are listening to other people speaking at the same time than you, you're going to be paying more attention to what they say instead of your own speaking response. So maybe that could be a trouble, an issue for you. And what I'm going to tell you is a way that I have discovered myself in which you are able to somehow reduce this problem, if not to eliminate it completely. So let me comment upon it. Now, as this will be the section you have just after your 10 minutes break, try to be the last person to get into the room and the last to start this section. This way, you will be the one annoying others with your speaking and not the annoying one. Let me explain this a little bit farther. So remember, when you finish your listening section, your computer is going to say something like, well, now please, you have finished the listening section. You can go out for a break of 10 minutes. All right? You see that? Well, you stand up, you get out of the room, you can go to the bathroom, drink water, eat a sandwich that you have brought with yourself in your school bag, whatever. Now, you're going to discover that, as I say, virtually all test takers go out to the break at the same time because virtually every single person finishes the reading section and the listening section at the same time. So what happens is that when most test takers go out and have their break, they come back to the computation room without having used the entireness of those 10 minutes. And you're going to experience this in your own exam when you take it. You're going to see that many people simply go out, like, well, they go to drink water, or maybe they eat something, or they just breathe for a couple of minutes, and they come back to the computation room, and they start a section immediately. Don't ask me why. I guess it's, I don't know, maybe their anxiety, they are super stressed out, they want to finish this once and for all. I don't know, but the point is that I have taken this exam twice in my life, and this always happened. And I also have talked to a lot of people who have taken this exam, and it also happens then that most people go out just for a while and they don't use the entireness of their break. Now, as I say, if you wait for your 10 minutes to be completely used, that is to say, if you don't come back immediately to the computation room as many people do, what is going to happen? Imagine that most test takers finish their break when they have used just 3 minutes and they come back, right? That is what normally happens. They use just 3 minutes, 4 minutes at a maximum, and they come back. And they start their speaking section immediately. They want to finish, as I say. So if you stay out for the entire 10 minutes, because that is legal, you can use your entire 10 minutes. That's the reason why they give you 10 minutes. If you want to use it completely, feel free to do so. And as I say, do it. Why? Because if you are the last person to enter, because you are using the entireness of your 10 minutes, or let's say one of the only 2 or 3 persons that enter once your entire 10 minutes are over, you are going to be a person who, when, for example, when you enter the room, most of the other test takers who have arrived early or earlier to the room and have started their speaking section already, they will be, let's say, in their fourth task, or they will be in their 3rd task. And remember, this section is super, super short. It just lasts for 20 minutes. And in those 20 minutes, you, as I say, have to perform in 4 different tasks. So when you enter the room, many of them will be in their third task. Some of them may be actually already finished in the section. So as I say, in this case, when you enter, if you enter as the last person or as one of the last people to get into the room, you're going to see that many of the other test takers will be already finishing the exam. So what will happen? That very likely, when they finish, you're going to be at the middle of your performance. And what is going to happen is you're going to avoid for you, if not all the noise and the perturbation that could exist because everybody is speaking, you can avoid many of the perturbation because you are going to be one of the last people getting into, and most of the other people who are taking the exam with you will be already finished in the section. So you will not be listening to them, and they are not going to annoy you. But actually, as they're going to move on to the writing section, you are going to be the one annoying them. But that is fine because that is the point, right? Better to be the one that is annoying others than to be the one who is annoyed. So as I say, and now there is something more. Okay, there is something more here. Once you enter the room, most other test takers will immediately start their speaking section. Nonetheless, you have some minutes available for you to wait until you decide to press the continue button to start. As I told you, when you sit down, coming back from the break of 10 minutes, you're going to see your screen, and the screen is going to say something like, please put your headphones on and talk about your family so that we can check out the microphone. So you check out your microphone, and then the computer is not going to start a section immediately. The computer will say something like, please, whenever you want to continue, press the button start or next or continue so that the speaking section starts. But if you don't press the button that says continue, next, or start, the speaking section will not start. So you can actually enter the room as one of the last people to get into, sit down, make the test of your microphone to check out if everything is going well, and you don't have to press the button. You can actually sit there and listen to what other people say. That is the interesting part. And maybe you are wondering, is this legal? Yes, it is, because they are the ones who are giving you that time. Press the button next if you want to continue. Of course, the time is not unlimited. Let's say when, I don't know how much time, 3 or 5 minutes have spent already or happened already, the computer is going to take you directly to the speaking section without asking you to press the button. But anyways, you can use those 3 or 5 minutes for you to sit down and actually listen to what other people say and respond. Now, let me tell you what happened in my experience. When I took the exam last time, I took the exam with other friends. We were actually, let's say, colleagues or peers somehow, because we were scholars from the US American Embassy in Bolivia, my country, because we had received a scholarship and they were paying basically for us to take the exam. So I had started with these people. They were my friends, as I tell you, and we had been practicing together, everything together. So well, when I got into, they were, let's say, I was not the last person to enter because they entered the room with me. So well, I sat down, I made my test with my microphone, with my headphones to check out if they were working correctly, and I just sat down, and I found out that my classmates, my peers, my friends, started their section immediately. And because they started their section, but I didn't, I was actually able to listen to their responses for the question. And now remember, all the questions for all the test takers are the same. You are not receiving a different question than the person that is besides you, or you're not receiving a different question than the person who is behind you or in front of you. No, the questions are always the same for all test takers. So because I just sat down and listened to what they said, I managed to listen to their responses for the first question or for the first task of the speaking section without having even started the section. So because I listened to it, I remember that I listened to one of my friends speaking, and he talked about something like vacations. So I started to think, okay, if he's responding this question with vacation stuff, what could the question be about? And I thought, well, if the question is about vacation, it just could be something like, where would I like to go for vacations, or where did I go last time for vacations, or if I receive a gift, where would I like to go for vacations, or do I like vacations at all, or does my family have vacations usually? I started to think in my own head, what type of questions could I receive that were related to vacations? So because I had that free time, and of course I had paper and pens, as I told you, because that is always available for you during the entire section, I started to write down on my paper some possible questions with some possible responses, as I say, even without having started this section. So when the computer took me to the speaking section, because I didn't press the button, at some point, let's say I exceeded the time and the computer basically took me directly to the speaking section. As very ironically, I found out that the question was just what I thought it would be. It was a question related to, if you receive a touristic gift, where would you like to have vacations to? Or it was something like that. So I had already thought about that question on my head, and I had written some possible responses. So the only thing I did when I received that question was to reread my notes, and then I respond to that question. Well, I responded to that question very smoothly, super calmly, because as I say, I had the time to listen to what my classmates were saying, and I had the time to think about my response even before the time had already started. So as I say, this is legal, you can do it. And I think that this could help you very much, not only in order to avoid the problem of having people disturbing you, but also if you want to have a little help, an extra help of the possible questions they're going to give you, and you can actually think about it and come up with possible responses before the section has to start. Do you have any questions, dear students, about this? About the hacks that I'm giving you for this section? Anything that I could clarify, maybe? Miguel,
Yes.
Jorge?
Yes,
tell me,
Carlos, I
tell me.
have a question. I would like
Diana.
to know if you have some minutes for preparing the answer once you hear the question, or is immediately. I mean that you listen the question and you have to start speaking that second.
All right. Thank you very much, Brenda. Yes. I mean, we're going to arrive to that, don't worry, because I guess tomorrow we're going to discuss, well, no, today we're going to discuss the timing, but yes, after you receive the question and the topic, you're going to have 15 seconds to prepare your response, okay? You're not going to speak immediately. They're going to give you 15 seconds for you to think where you're going to respond, for you to think about possible arguments, possible illustrations, but no, you're not going to speak immediately. Right after those 15 seconds, you're going to have, as I want to show you right now, 4 or 5 seconds to deliver your response. But before those 4 or 5 seconds start, you're going to have 15 seconds just for you to think about your response and your arguments. All right, dear Adriana?
Yes, thank you. It's clear.
All right, fantastic. My pleasure. Any other question, dear students, about this, what we have discussed until this point?
I'm okay, thank you.
All right, fantastic. So please consider this hack, okay? I have found that it was very helpful to other students that I have had in the past. So if you want to follow it, please feel free to do it, okay? Fantastic. Now, let us discuss now what Adriana was asking for, the type of questions in this section, okay? So let us get into the first type of question and let us see some details about it, okay? So, as I told you, the first type of question is called independent speaking question. The reason why this is called like this is because in this question, in order to make a response, you are not going to be relying on any material that ETS gives you apart from the topic. The topic is the only thing they're going to give you. They're going to give you a topic for the question, and then your response must be based only on your own information, on your own opinion, on your own ideas, on your own knowledge. You are going to be basically independent in the sense that you are not obligated to include any particular information ETS gives you. But as I say, the only they give you is the topic. They only give you a concept for you to respond about, and the entire response, you can construct it with your own knowledge, with your own opinion, with your own data, with your own resources. Everything is up to you, okay? You are independent. You're going to respond with your own opinion. As I say, in this case, everything that is personal is very much valued and appreciated. You are actually, in this case, encouraged to offer your opinion, give your reasons, etc. as I'm going to show you, okay? So in your first task, you will be required to say your opinion on a general topic. And this is a topic that ETS gives you, the only thing that they give you. The rest is about what you consider to be a good response and what you know or what you could, let's say, contribute to the response, okay? And you will have to defend and sustain this position. This is the important part. And this is the reason why I have pasted, in this case, the picture of this man that you can see on my screen. Maybe for many of you, this is a very familiar character. His name is Ben Shapiro, very famous political commentator. And the reason why I put his picture here is not because I want us to discuss politics, okay? Please don't Don't misunderstand me. We are not here to discuss anything of that sort. I'm not actually interested about that right now. The only reason why I included the picture of this man here is because he's very famous for being a good debater. Do you know what is a debate, dear students? A debate is basically a platform, a time in which you present an opinion you have about a topic. And because you have somebody arguing against you, you have to defend your position so that the public who listens to you is convinced of your position, knowing that what you consider and you defend is true, okay? So I want you to always have that on mind while being in this task, because you are not merely going to express your opinion on the general topic ETS gives you, but when you give your opinion, you need to defend your opinion, okay? You need to give some arguments, some illustrations for showing that your opinion is sustained, that you have some reasons for holding that opinion, okay? So always keep that in mind, that on this particular response, or in this particular task, you always need to express what you think, but also to defend it, okay? Very important. Now, you will have little time to finish this task, which breaks down to the following. You will have, as I told one of your classmates, 15 seconds to prepare a response and 45 seconds to speak, all right? Now, before we finish this class, let us get into our simulator for you to see how this will look like on the actual exam, and you can get a very familiar and very good picture of how will this look like on the actual day, okay? So let me show you this. All right, so look at my screen right now. What you can see on my screen is a very, very similar menu to the one that you're going to receive also on the day of your exam. So as you can see, you're going to have some letters in here. As you can see on one side, you're going to have some instructions. Let us read them together. It says, you will now be asked to give your opinion about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak. All right. Now, as you can see, dear students, they are going to ask you a familiar topic. All right. 15 seconds to prepare a response, 45 seconds to speak. Now, what is the familiar topic they are talking about? Let me show you a very good example of how these familiar topics are going to look like. Let me show you. Look at the right side of my screen. It says, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Why or why not? Use details and examples to support your answer. Listening to music while studying is a bad idea because it makes the time spent less effective. So this will be the topic. And the question is basically, do you agree or disagree with this? You consider this is a correct sentence? Is this incorrect? Is this right? Is this wrong? Do you agree or disagree with this statement? Why or why not? As you can see, the question itself asks you to give details and examples to support your answer. You have to defend it, all right? Now, as you can see, dear students, this type of question is asking you to take a position, basically. It's giving you two options, and it's asking you, do you agree or disagree? You don't have more chances. You don't have more options or choices. You agree or disagree? That's it. Now, this is very important. Why? Because I have seen in my experience that many students or test takers like to, let's say, ignore this particular order, and they respond to this question staying in the middle line. And what I mean by the middle line, it's basically, in their response, saying something like, well, I'm not sure about this topic. I'm not sure what to respond. I don't have a clear opinion, so I'm going to defend both positions positively and negatively as well. Now, let me tell you, that is sadly not a good response. Why? Because ask yourself, why are they asking you to give, why are they asking you to agree or to disagree if they weren't wanting to see if you're able to defend a particular position? I remember you're taking this exam for going to college, you're going to the grad school, or you're taking this exam because you want to work for a company. And it doesn't matter if you're in a university or in a company, defending your ideas, defending your position, defending what you think is tremendously important, right? So they want to judge if you're able to do so in English, right? So as I say, always take a position, never, or avoid in this case, going in the middle line and staying neutral. Go for a question, go for a statement, go for a position, okay? As I say, dear students, choose one. Even if in the real life you are not actually secure about it, doesn't matter. You simply have to choose the one that you consider helps you the most, that you consider gives you, let's say, the best option or the best possible manner to respond the question, and that could help you to have a good response, right? That is exactly what you have to worry about. you don't actually need to choose the one that you agree in the real life. For example, many people I have talked to told me that, for example, when they were in this question, they received a topic that was very controversial. And although in the real life, they, let's say, thought different, they chose that particular option because they knew it was super easy to defend. Remember that you don't actually need to just express what you think, but you also need to defend it. So maybe one criteria that you want to choose or do you want to have in on mind whenever deciding what particular position you're going to take is this position defendable? Is this easy to defend? Can I come up with good arguments, illustrations to defend this point, or is it going to be too complicated? If you consider an option to be too complicated with compared to the other one, maybe you shouldn't take that one because, as I say, if you want to complicate yourself, well, maybe that is your choice. But if you want to avoid any type of complication, go for the one that suits you the most. That is to say, the one that you consider to be the easiest to respond, the easiest to defend. That could be a good idea, right? In this case, we are just responding an English exam. We are not here in this case taking an exam about honesty or about how much we are cool or how much we are able to take difficult situations. No, we are taking an English exam. We want to have a good qualification. Go for the easiest, the simplest option. All right. That is a recommendation I had for you. Now, another thing, how will this work on the exam? So remember that, and to this point, you will of course have your headphones already on your head, right? Because, well, everything you have done until this point is having your headphones on, preparing yourself, etc. So when this menu appears on your screen, you're gonna listen in your headphones a voice reading the instructions. It's gonna read them. It's gonna say, now you will be asked to give your opinion about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, etc., etc. So he's gonna read that. Okay, he's gonna read the instruction. After he reads the instruction, he's gonna read the question. He's gonna say something like, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Why or why not? Listening to music while studying is a bad idea because it makes time spent less effective, right? So he's gonna read both things. When he finishes reading not only the instructions, but also the topic for this question, he is gonna say something like this. He's gonna say, now that you have read the question, please start preparing your response after the beep. And there is going to be a sound like beep. And when you listen to that sound, then you know that automatically your 15 seconds are already counting. That is to say, you have 15 seconds to take your piece of paper and write down there what are going to be your arguments for holding and defending that position, right? As I say, it's a very, very short time, but 15 seconds is sufficient if you are practicing and if you are able to come out with good arguments and illustrations quickly, okay? So as I say, dear students, very important, preparation time of 15 seconds. By the way, when these 15 seconds are happening, you don't need to say anything, okay? In these 15 seconds, the only thing you have to do is to prepare your response. You need to speak at this time, okay? So when the 15 seconds are over, what is gonna happen, dear students? When the 15 seconds are over, the voice is gonna come here again. The voice in your headphones will say something like, now that you have prepared your response, please start delivering it after the beep. And one more time, beep. And when you listen to that beep, dear students, it means that your response is already being recorded. In this exam, you don't need to press a button like this, for example. In this case, I have to press it because it is a simulator. But on the actual exam, you don't have to press anything in order to start your response. The only thing that you have to pay attention to is the beep. When you listen to the beep, beep, you simply know that your response is already being recorded, okay? So when your response is already being recorded, you speak. And by the way, those 45 seconds that you're gonna have for responding and including your opinion and your arguments is gonna be visible here in a chronometer, very similar to this one, okay? Of course, in this case, it's a little bit advanced because I've been using this for a while, but the point is, dear students, as I said, you're gonna have a chronometer here, and if you want to know how much you still have remaining for responding, well, look at the chronometer and you're gonna be able to see, all right? So those are the aspects I wanted to clarify. You don't have to press a button in order to start a response, nor in this part, nor in any other of the ones. And also, you're gonna have all these people reading these things for you. And it's very important for you to be, as I say, very personal and very much detailed and specific when giving your illustrations. But that, we're going to discuss it later. Now, is there any question, dear students, about this particular topic? Miguel, Jorge, Adriana, Sergio, Alondra, Fabiana, Camila, any question about this particular part?
No question, teacher. Thank you.
All right, fantastic, my pleasure. Any other question, dear students?
I
No
do,
question
Carlos.
as
I have a
well.
question.
Okay, Adriana, please.
Do we have the chance to listen what we have recorded, or is there is no way that we can hear what we said?
Okay, thank you very much, dear Adriana. Sadly, there is no way. There is no way to listen to it. You're gonna have to discover what the reviewer thought about your response 2 weeks later when you receive the scores. But no, there's sadly no way to listen to our response again. And by the way, you just listen and excuse me, you just respond to this particular question once. If you committed a mistake, sadly, during this 4 or 5 seconds, you cannot repeat it. Okay. I am actually very much against this. They should give you at least one opportunity to repeat it if you want, but nonetheless, one chance. That is all you have. Just one chance. 4 or 5 seconds. That's all. If you don't manage to respond as you pretended in these 4 or 5 seconds, I'm so sorry, but that's over. As I say, how you perform it, you're going to have to discover it 1 week or 2 weeks later when your scores are available for you to see them. But sadly, we're not able to listen to it again, nor to repeat this exercise in this part or any or the other tasks in the speaking section. Is that fine?
Yes, thank you.
Fantastic, my pleasure. Any other question, dear students? Anything that I could clarify?
It's clear.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much for it. There we are. So,
Teacher,
oh yes, Alondra, please.
one question. In these sections, the topic can be academic, no academic.
All right, thank you very much for the question. So for this type of question, oh yes, okay, fantastic. So for this type of question, it is always going to be a personal question. That is to say something trivial, algo trivial of the day-to-day things, things like, for example, which animal do you think is the best pet? And then you could say, right, cats or dogs? Well, you go for cats or you go for dogs. Or what is the best climate? Sunny or rain, right? Things of that sort, super trivial, daily topics. The academic subjects or the academic topics are going to be for the other tasks. The second task, the third task, and the fourth task that we're going to discuss in the following weeks, they are the ones that are going to give you an academic topic for you to speak about. But in this one, you're going to speak your your day-to-day English, your daily conversations, daily topic, super easy, all right? Is that fine?
Okay, teacher.
All right, fantastic, my pleasure. So there we are. Any other question? Okay, no questions, I think. Sure. All right, fantastic. So now let us finish our class here. Tomorrow, as I say, I'm going to teach you, don't worry, how to write it. As you can see here, I have some recommendations. I have some examples as well. I know how important examples are for you to understand. I have a template that I'm going to share with you tomorrow, so don't worry. Everything about how to perform this section, we're going to learn tomorrow. And we have free time, we're going to be practicing it already, okay? Fantastic. So let me please stop sharing. And I'm going to take your assistance. Please don't go. And also, please, dear students, you know that we always feel a pull at the end of our classes. You know that you help me a lot by feeling it positively, all right? So please help me with it. Look at your screen. And we're going to be taking your assistance so that you can receive your certificate later at the end of this classes. So let me open and look for your name. And when you listen, please say present. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Here. So it's here present. Is here present Ramirez Camila?
Yes, present.
Thank you very much, Camila. What about Mayra Alejandra Perez? Okay, Ale. Okay, she was not here today. What about Quiroga Adriana?
I'm here.
Thank you very much, Adriana. What about Zúñiga Sergio?
Present.
Thank you very much, Sergio. What about Alondra Lisette? I know she was here. Don't worry, Alondra. Got you. Got you covered. What about?
Present.
Yes, don't worry. Don't worry.
Sorry.
Yes, I got you. No, don't worry. Jose Miguel Quiroga?
Here.
Thank you very much, Jose. Thank you very much. What about Anaí Estefanía? Okay. And finally, Jorge Alberto Benítez.
Here, present.
Thank you very much, Jorge. All right, there we are. So tomorrow, as I said, we're going to finalize with this section. It's going to be a very good class, so please don't miss it. Tomorrow, we're going to discuss how to write it, all the tricks you have. I'm going to show you examples of my own so that you can see how I responded to these questions. Everything is going to be discussed tomorrow. Okay, so have a wonderful night and thank you very much for having joined me. Right? See you later.
See you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Carlos.
Tomorrow.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. See you later, guys.